No, that is a good attempt, though. You're so annoying.
Have you seen the photo, Keats?
Keats, don't
No.
look at it.
Have a look.
You don't
Hold
need
on.
to see that, Keats.
You do. Hold
What is that?
You're not okay.
on. Have you not seen the photo that? Look at Jordan's hair.
Excuse me, that's
Look
fashionable.
at Lucy Stan. Look at Lucy Stan.
Yeah, yours is more like Lucy Stan's, to be fair. It's
I'm
so
gonna have to.
funny.
I can't stay the whole podcast like this. Hold on. Well, maybe I can. No, because they'll put clips up of something serious, and my hair will be like that. And I'm talking about just.
That is
look how much.
so funny.
Where was that photo from?
Will have been like 16 then, I think. 15, 16.
16.
Wow.
Yeah, because we were at Sunderland
Wow.
then. That was Sunderland, like football night awards.
I'm such
When
a
Lucy
child.
Stan
Best
put
of
it
your
up,
son do
right?
best.
Yeah, I know. When Lucy put it up, I texted her and I said, why? What is the need for that? I actually thought she'd put it on her close friends, and I was like, no, she's actually sent that out to the world, so. Yeah,
By
too
the
funny.
way, I don't know if this makes it to the podcast. If it does, just have a look at Lucy Stanford's Instagram page and the photo of Jordan, Lucy, and Lucy celebrating Lucy Bronze's birthday, but from when you're 16. And that's what my hair was
Wow.
a picture of. Anyway, hello everyone. How are we all?
Hello.
Good, thank you.
Good, thanks. How are you?
Apart from the hair shaming. What have we all been up to?
Nice little break. We had the weekend off from Thursday till Monday, which was nice.
Those are the positives, right, of not playing international football. What did you do with it?
Well, I actually we had a meal with the family on the Friday. Then on the Saturday, I had a busy Saturday because I went to my niece's football in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning. I nearly got blew over by the gust of wind that wouldn't stop reappearing. Oh my days, like blew away. It was rough. Don't know how they kept the football on the pitch, but she did really well. And then in the evening, I went to a theatre show, which was made up of all of the young kids from within my area. They basically went to go to a nightclub, not a nightclub, a youth club that has a place called Positive Impact, and they do like drama, dance, singing, and they had a little show to show us like what they've been doing. It was amazing. From like
That's
6
cute.
to like 16. The cutest little kids, like doing Annie, and it was great. Really, really good.
Was that you
Oh,
two when you were
really good.
younger? Were you on stage?
Oh no,
Oh,
No,
never been tempted.
no.
not a
Well, this is
chance.
your lucky day. We're doing the Sky Christmas show, and you'll both be performing. You won't. Oh, I could see you in Panto. If you would like to see Jordan and Nikita in Panto, let us know what parts they would play. Anyway, I've been very well, thank you. I gave a goldfish and Epsom salt bath, and then the power cable fell down outside my house, and lots of firemen arrived. That was me. Right, on with the show. This is Pitch to Pod with WSL legends Nikita, Don't Go Changing, Parris, and Jordan Changing Rooms Nobbs. Every week on the podcast, we bring you topics straight from the pitch to this podcast. We discuss the biggest talking points from the world of football, the WSL, and beyond. Now, this week's something a little bit different because on the podcast, post-podcast, where we just have a chat about other stuff that's not recorded, we talked about some of the real serious issues in the game and other stuff that we'd like to change. Not that anything needs changing. So this week, we're taking it from the After Dark podcast to the real show, and we are spilling the tea. If we were in charge of football, what would we change? So that's this week. We're also going to hear not just from Jordan, not just from Nikita, but some other famous names on what they would like to change too. I mean, this is all assuming that there are things that need changing, because clearly there's some improvement, always in every aspect of life. Just look at me, always looking to improve. We wouldn't be human if there weren't things to improve. So what would we tweak? I'm going to start, just as a little warm-up, because you can't shut my microphone off. Award nominations. This is what I would change, right? Obviously, you two should have been I mean, it goes without saying you should have been shortlisted for the FIFPRO World 11. But what are they doing? Caldente wasn't even in it. Emma Sanders of the BBC writes, Caldente was the Ballon d'Or runner-up, one of the best players in the world, not just in the WSL, and she wasn't even shortlisted. I mean, I paraphrase, but stuff like that. This is voted by players, so this is your fault, you two. What do we need to change about awards apart from get it right? Is the problem that just players aren't watching enough of other leagues? They're just not aware of what's going on, which is understandable. You got enough on your plate. But what could we or should we do when it comes to awards? There's my first. Take it away.
Oh, well, that must have been a real oversight for whoever didn't vote Mariona Caldente, or they really, really, really don't watch the WSL, because that is frightening to even think that her name wasn't even mentioned. For me, she should be winning it. So to not even be voted is a crazy oversight. But I do think the issue is, and I don't know if in the teams that you've ever been endured, when at the end of the season when people are voting for the PFA team of the year, I can't stand when people just copy other people. I'm like, do you not watch football? Like, do you not have an opinion for yourself? Like, someone will go, my left back's going to be this person, and everyone goes, yeah, I'll take that. No. Like, no, but seriously, like, you are actually discrediting these players who week on week on week are putting in performances for the club. Whether they're scoring or whether the assisting, it does, for me, it's about performance. Like, if you can put in a consistent performance where you're improving week on week and you're helping your team get points, get results, like, it's really frustrating. And I don't know how players feel personally when they look back on their season and they go, you know what? I think I should have been at least in and around that team. Like, I would like to see, I'd like them to announce what people have voted for, like, the different votes and how many people got, like, even if you put it in like number or percentage order, like this person got 10%, this person got 80% of the votes, whatever it looks like. I really would like to see, because I think personally that's how people vote. They just copy other people. So then you will see a massive, massive disparity between the percentage of voting. So one person will have like 75% and another person will have 2%. And it's just like, how does it work? Like, I really don't get it. Yeah, I agree. That was a good one, Caroline. Really good.
I think that's been similar with, like, you've seen people obviously put about Kira Walsh or Kim Little not being up for nominations in the last like few years as well. It is mad, because I think naturally we look at our own league, don't we? But some of the best players in our own league are, not even coming in the top 50.
And breathe. Jordan, I believe you would like to change investment. Bro, we all want to see more investment in the game, but you want to bring some into WSL too.
Yeah, I was going to stick up for my WSL 2 teams. I think there's still, we're obviously investing in like loads of areas of the football. Obviously, we all know that we want to keep improving every bit of it. But I think we're going investment in grassroots, amazing. Investment into the top league, amazing. But I think the little in between bit, is like we're kind of missing a little bit. Like, there's girls in our league that are paying £300 for boots, and when I say players, like it's 95% of girls, within the league not being sponsored. Obviously I think the PFA, they're looking to, I think, support the WSL2 this year, but that means like boot vouchers and better things for if they get injured and everything like that. Obviously psychology, the whole package, which I think is necessary as well. But I think we're still in a position where there's girls with jobs in football and, paying out their own pocket for a lot of little things that you like. It kind of opens your eyes again to how far the game has grown, but then how much there's still bits falling behind. And I think when we talk about the expansion of the WSL1, that there are teams obviously in the WSL2 that can come up and stay up. You've just seen London City do it. I still think there's clubs in our league that can do that. But if you're wanting to expand the WSL1 and you bring teams up, there's no wonder why they come back down, because it is still a struggle. And it's like, how do we bridge that gap a little bit more and not miss out like the middleman? a little bit. So yeah, I just thought I'd have a little shout out for WSL2 on yeah, just giving them a bit more support.
That blows my mind that this is the second tier in football in our country, which is still the most watched sport, and no sponsor is saying have a free pair of boots. Why wouldn't you do that? These companies must be just giving boots away to influencers or whomever. You're getting thousands of people watching your game on telly as well, or on YouTube, but getting exposure through the FA Cup, whatever it would be. But these boots, they just give them away.
Yeah, I think it's super important that you advocate for players that don't have a voice. I think in the top league, you have a platform and you have a voice, especially when you play for certain teams. And I think for WSL2 players, it's super important because actually they miss out on PFA support because of the semi-professionalism that is in that league. So it's kind of like they are faced with in a position where the support isn't there. We have seen plenty of times when players have got injured, whether it be ACLs or long-term injuries, and they have to do GoFundMe pages. Like we're talking about the second division in England. Like, I do totally agree with you, Jordan. There has to be some provision, support, resources for WSL2 clubs because they are in that bandwidth where they do get missed out, especially when you want to grow the game. And we talk about grow the game, we talk about grassroots football, and we talk about, the top level where the exposure is, the sponsorship is, the TV rights is. Like, we need to think about the whole game. And that's also my second point, actually, because it's pretty similar. I really believe in order to bridge the gap between youth development into the elite phase of football, so going from, say, 16 to 18, then into the first team environment, we have to improve on the coaching. Our coaching level for these players has to be significantly higher because the gap is too big. And although you might be doing the physical work, like when I was younger and I think about my development, I did a whole load of physical work. I'm talking like fitness testing and, after training, during training, after training would be the whole focus on running without the ball, let's say. But never really was it like technical. It wasn't no technical work, no like video analysis or 1v1 individual training. When I was younger, I didn't have that when I was in, so say, Everton Centre of Excellence. That wasn't on the agenda. We did some possession based football, so some type of possession with goals, but we never actually did position specific work. And I feel like the younger generation now, you can see a massive difference because from say under 10s to say under 15s, I didn't do that work, but then from under 15s to 25 until I left Manchester City, my whole focus was about technical and tactical, understanding football, literally the reason why I pass, why I made that certain pass, the way I pass, the quality of the pass, is it on the floor, is it in the air, if it's in the air, how are you bringing it down? All of that development was done in such a tight space of time because that's what at Manchester City they focused on. It was all about the team and how effective you can move the ball and how your position is so specific that if you move, say, 5 meters to the left or 5 meters to the right, you're affecting someone else, which is messing the team up. And I was like, wow. When I first went to Manchester City, I was like, is this football? Like in my head, I was thinking this. I've never ever worked in this way. So I was so used to just running about the pitch with energy and running behind, using my pace. And Nick was like, no, I don't want you to do that. I want you to do this. And he literally worked day and night with me, on video, individually on the pitch. And I don't think, without that work, I don't believe I would have ever got to the level I did, because I needed it. And I think in development in football now, I think we don't do it because it consumes a lot of time. So, and it's a lot of work. We don't have 4 and 5 coaches in a training session. In most teams, you have probably your first team coach and your assistant coach. So you do most things in a group, but actually we need to take young players away and individually work on their understanding of the game, their position on a football pitch. Because when they come into the first team environment, you can see the level is just way beyond them. And it's not their fault. They just haven't been prepared for it. So we either need more resources and support in terms of getting more coaches and more analysis and all of these like second coaches to be able to do the individual work in smaller groups, because I just feel like for them, when I see them in training sessions, I think it's going to take you 4 or 5 years to even get up to speed, and then by then you're expected to perform.
Keith, God, it's the age-old question though, isn't it? You want to show the games, expand the league, and it's then finding the pace at which to do that. Clearly they're going to try and do that this season with the clubs that will come up, and the playoff for bottom against third in WSL 2 as well. Would you be up for seeing sort of minimum requirements now? And I know they have them, as in those that take on franchises, but a bit more like in NWSL, what you've got to be able to show before you can even be part of the league setup.
Yeah, I do think you have to have a minimum requirement to come into the top league, especially when we want to expand. I think obviously next season we're going to have 2 more teams in the league, so that will make the league bigger, which is important because I think currently now in the league, if you lose 2 to 3 games, that could be the title race gone, which is crazy to think, because in football it's like games can go your way, they can't go, like other games might not, and you want a little bit more, room for error in sense, because no game can be perfect. Yeah, so I think it is important that we grow the league, but I do think in order for teams to come up or have a requirement to have a WSL 1 license, it is super important that there is a minimum requirement of investment that you have to adhere to. Because sometimes teams come up and they are set up to fail, and it's because of the investment that they are not getting. Or even teams that are currently in the league and season upon season, they're fighting a relegation battle. I'm always of the advocate of players need to play. I've always said it. I think you should go out and go to a team that's, you're going to play, you're going to be getting guaranteed minutes, or you're at least in a position that you're fighting each week to play against someone else. But it's difficult when you're thinking, okay, if I go to that team, I know that the investment isn't going to be there, so we might not bring the players in, and then throughout the season we're fighting each week to get a point, or to stay in the game, and that's really, really difficult on a person's mental health, a person's self-esteem, and you kind of like, you question whether your development is good because you're playing, or is it being hindered because you're not given the resource and the support as a team to reach your potential. And so I can see why certain players might go, no, I think I'll just stay here and I'll sit on the bench and I'll wait for my moment, instead of going, actually I'll go there and I'll fight for a position every single week, and I know if I'm playing at my best, I'll play. So I think that's the dilemma that we've got, and I think that comes from the lack of resources and support that these teams are being given. So when you do come into the WSL, I do think that you have to have a certain level of, resource and support, and all of that behind the scenes medically is super important too, to be able to compete at this level.
I want to ask you both on that point of coaching. I'll start with you, Jordan. Whether you as players, and regardless of whether you want to be coaches or not, because you're both brilliant media pundits and that's maybe one route you'll want to go. But as players, do you feel like it's even an attractive job to go and be a coach in the women's game?
I think naturally as a coach, I think what draws you is still what investment from the club are you giving me? Because I think we've seen so many coaches where they go, well, I want this player and this player. Oh, well, we can't fund that. Or I want this staff member. I want us to get a chef in and et cetera, et cetera. So I think that naturally you're gonna enjoy the process if you have everything alongside it that's in a professional manner. So I think that is obviously something that you, as a coach, you would want. I think it is tough when you do see some managers, get let go and things like that, and they haven't had the investment or the support to, actually help the team and the staff around them. The only thing I would say is I think for coaches, I think learning and experiencing off other coaches, I think is very helpful for people to see. It's kind of like they should do a day where other coaches can go in and watch like a top football club and see what they do, because I think as players sometimes we talk about stuff and clubs don't really know what we're saying. It's a bit like Keats talking about Man City. Imagine 3 or 4 coaches in the women's game going to Man City for the day and seeing them coach and seeing how they are so professional with timings and everything like that. I think that would be really, really helpful to coaches to see what the level looks like. And that doesn't mean they're going to just suddenly get the investment from the club, but there's little things that make a big difference in football.
Yeah, Judd, I agree with that because when you think about it, it's like certain managers have worked absolute miracles on minimum standards. Like we talk about women's football, say 15, 20 years ago, talking about people like Vic Akers, Mo Marley, these type of coaches who literally had the bare minimum and still managed to develop and progress the game. Like you talk to, okay, let's say our generation of players, and they will continue to always talk about the influence Mo Marley had on their career. But it's like she got minimum support to do that, but that is through the love and the passion she had for the game. And sometimes that can take you so much further as a coach. When you are obsessed with the game, you love the game, you love developing players, that helps. But the problem is nowadays, so many other clubs are setting new bars each and every season because they're thinking, well, actually, if I invest in this area, then that'll help me win the Champions League. So within like the WSL, you've got teams that want to compete for the Champions League. So then they're raising the standards and the level for the WSL. And then within that, within Europe, you've got, your Chelseas, your Arsenals, your Lyons, your Barcelonas, and your Bayerns. They're all competing they all want the Champions League. So the level each year is consistently getting higher and higher and higher. So look at the gap between the top and the bottom is just increasing significantly, and that's because certain teams are willing to invest, like we're always saying, with players, with medical staff, with wages, resource. Teams are willing to invest and the others are getting left behind. But the sad thing is the gap is just continuing to getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then we go, but why can they afford the support and they can't? And how are we bridging that gap? Do you know what I mean? And that's just like, and that's what it's going to continue to be, because you will have owners within women's football who want the best for their players. They want to give their players the optimum level of support and resource to make them be the best they can be. And if that means winning the Champions League, unbelievable. But we're going to make sure we give you that best investment. Whereas there's other teams that were going, well, this is the minimum requirement that I think is worthy of the WSL, so here you go. And that's the problem. That's why there has to be a certain level of investment in order to be in the WSL. Otherwise, the league is going to get diluted, because you're going to have teams, like the bottom half of the table is going to continue to grow on low points, and the other teams are going to be storming it.
They've put a new thing on, is it 40k minimum wages now on the WSL? That's all players.
Yeah, all players. Minimum. And we can say, well, is 40k low? Still a little bit too low? Probably. At least there's some type of... You can see there's a problem. you're understanding that, you know, some players' wages are astronomical and other players, they can barely survive. And you want to call them professional, and they're probably choosing, no, and this is like probably the honest truth, whether to buy that packet of meat or to not. And people might say that's extreme, but I'm telling you, I reckon people going up and down them shopping aisles going, I can't afford that, so I'll try and substitute that for that, or just having to pass it by, because the wages just won't stretch, because there's so many other things they have to buy, including boots. I mean, we can talk about boots and whether the vouchers, but in general, boots are so astronomically high. The price for boots is ridiculous. Like £230 plus for a pair of boots. That could last you 1 week, if depending on, you know, the challenges, the type of surface. So if you're playing on grass, maybe they last you a bit longer, but if you're playing on 3G, boots come apart so quick. And it's just like, how do you expect people to live?
And that's 40k, as you say, which is a new thing that's coming in. But you're saying that players you've known are making like tough decisions about what food they're going to buy.
Yeah, tough decisions about what they're going to buy. Like tough decisions about whether it's food, whether it's clothing, how they're just questioning, how am I going to make this money stretch? Because the wages have been so low in women's football and for so long.
Because
like,
people listen to this and they'll go, okay. £40,000 is a good wage, right?
Yes, but it's only now that they're getting £40,000. It might not even be in play for everybody right now. So they're still on previous wages. So, and I don't know if it gave a minimum time of when clubs have to make sure every player are on this 40k minimum wage salary. But before that, 100% there's players questioning whether to buy this, whether to buy that, how am I going to do this, choosing what. And we talk about football, but there's also a life balance to this. You know, it's incredible. I do think there's a massive gap in women's football that not many of us might experience, especially if you're top end WSL 1, you might never have experienced it. Doesn't mean those lower and in WSL 2 aren't. And if you haven't experienced it, or like Jordan can tell us about WSL 2 because she's living it every day. She's in it.
I think it's not just looking at, because a wage can sometimes in football look, oh, you know, that's a decent amount, you know, compared to other jobs, etc. But our careers are so short. You know, we're not in a profession where it can last 60, 70 years. We're in something where you could be 30, 35, 38 if you're lucky and, you know, one of the good players. Like you're retiring at an age, and if you've actually given your all to football, because that's the way the women's game's gone, everyone wants to be on that pitch. You know, people want to be like, I want to be a women's footballer. But actually, they could be on, well, clearly, people were on less than 40 grand before just this season, because they wouldn't have put that in if people were on a lot more than that, or else it wouldn't make sense. So some people are on a less than that and probably doing a full-time football professional job, but actually there's nothing behind that. Like, for example, I can even say with me, you know, I've not gone to uni, I haven't done, you know, and I know some players have, and that's amazing, you know, but I gave my all to football. But if something goes wrong, you know, like what Keith said, you've been living and surviving, doing what you love, of course, but once that journey ends, you're literally no pounds, no penny, unless you have something lined up straight away that next month, which is very unlikely.
Yeah, so it was announced at the start of the season it would be for this season 25-26, and the senior women's Super League players will be guaranteed a minimum salary, so that's going to be £40,000. That's under the new financial rules. This is just to bring up the salary floor, basically, and it's going to be different levels depending on the age of the player, whether the club is in WSL 1 or WSL 2 as well. But those that are 23 and over in WSL 1 will receive at least £40,000. And clearly, more is going to happen, and the willingness is there to bring it up to a level, but that hasn't happened yet, and clearly that's something that they want to happen. This is Pitch to Pod. This week we're talking about, we're not saying what needs fixing within the women's game, but we're saying if you could, what would you fix? We've already heard from Jordan and Nikita about what they want to change. Coming up, we're going to hear from Super Sue Smith, but let's start off from hearing a very good friend of the podcast, not that Sue's not, Courtney Sweetman-Kirk.
The one thing I would change about the women's game is goal line technology. No grey areas. It's there in black and white. It's either a goal or it's not.
It's either a goal or it's not. Clearly, it's always a goal if you two are scoring it. Goal line technology, the basics. Would you have that? Ignore VAR for the moment. I mean, eventually it could come in, but is that, as a minimum, goal line technology? Oh, there we go. Done. Away you go. Does technology bother you both? I'm saying this knowing that we've all had problems with technology today. But does technology bother you both when it comes to the game? Is it something you even discuss? Like you get in the dressing room and go, "Oh, I wish we had goal line technology."
No, I can't say it's something that's ever come up, but I would say it makes the game look very amateur when a decision is not given and it is so clear. But it's natural, human error can happen, but obviously a quick, look at the watch and it's sorted out. So I do think without it, it does make the game still look a bit amateur, in my opinion.
George?
Yeah, I think goal line technology is a good one. It just clears it up, like Courtney said, and I think it's a fair thing to have in our game now, isn't it, really?
All right, Courtney, we're in agreement. Next up, let's hear from Super Sue Smith on what she would change.
Hi, Keats, Jordan, and of course, Caroline. Sue Smith here. Okay, one thing that I'd like to change would be the amount of ACL injuries and re-injuries that we're seeing in the women's game at the moment. I know that there's been like a lot of ongoing research, but I just think further investment to help accelerate this research would be great. I also know there's so many different factors and variables that can contribute to an ACL injury, but surely there's more that can be done, as I don't think there's been a weekend gone by recently where we've not had news of another one occurring.
Yes, Sue Smith.
Agreed. I think, like Sue did say, over the last, 3 or 4 weeks, we've seen so many ACL injuries. With young players of different ages also, and it will be interesting to see the findings of the ACL project that we have been hearing about that's getting resourced by the PFA. It is going to take time because it's a big project, but I do think we need something more instant at the moment because we are seeing so many injuries and re-injuries. We've seen Lena Oberdorf has now also redone an ACL, which is, so sad, and we wish her a speedy recovery. And it's so sad this injury takes you away from the game so long, and we miss such huge talent in the game when they do damage the ACLs. But for them, the mental challenge that they have to overcome after redoing it is incredible.
Yeah, George, that was you, wasn't it? Back in 2018.
18, yeah.
And for those that haven't experienced it, what was it like? Like, I don't even to how it feels. They say like straight away that's what's happened, even though obviously you've not done it before, but you know that's what happened.
Yeah, I heard a pop in my knee, so because Kim Little had done hers just before me, I kind of when she said that, and then that's what I heard with me. I knew straight away. It was the first thing I obviously said when I did it, and yeah, the journey back, it's like undescribable unless you've been in it. It's like at the same time you're struggling and you're learning to like bend and straighten your knee again for like the start of it, which I think is the hardest part. Those first few months, everyone else just gets on with their day. As much as everyone like shows support, it's not lack of support at all. But naturally, everyone has a job to do. So I think that's what's always hard. It's like, you can't have that like bubble wrap around you, like of protection. It's like, you do have to mentally get through on your own in large spells of it, even with the support that you have. But I mean, yeah, massively, it's such a big thing in the women's game. Is there something like 5 in the league already? I mean, that's just insane.
I wonder if that conversation has. I mean, it must happen. Like, if you're a player at Chelsea Women, surely the medical conversations happen between the men's and the women's team. It's going to be a bit different at London City, obviously, because you're sort of independent and standing on your own. But it also comes back to bring your coach to work day. But you'd think like other clubs would want to share their own medical expertise about what's happening, and no doubt that is too. But as players, would you know where to go straight away if it happened? I mean, clearly you go to your club doctor, but you almost want like that support group around you. And you wouldn't be saying to your club doctor, right, can you go and talk to this person because they're the best in the business about it, and I'm sure they'd want to help. Do you even know?
But like obviously, I was very lucky at Arsenal that they, send you to a really good surgeon, everything like that, dealt with men and women's footballers. So I think it's more that, if you're not at them bigger clubs, you might not be getting. I think we've seen stories, haven't we, of other players doing their ACL and not having that support, or and I can't even imagine how hard that is going through that without getting your operation quickly and everything like that.
You know what, George? Do you know what's incredible? We talk about obviously the funding for the operation, and we've seen people do GoFundMe pages, but what about the recovery after? What about the mental scars that you're going through each and every day that a physio can't see and can't help? That you need a psychologist. What if you don't have a psychology support? There's so many different elements to this injury that unless you're going through it, you'll never understand what it's been like you said. But you'll never understand what support you need. And on a day-to-day basis, if you're just working with a physio who's specifically there just to focus on your knee, but not anything else about, your mental health, how you're feeling, your dietary, like how your diet's going, how can that help? We talk about small 1%. That's going to help you recover faster, help you be stronger, and hopefully never have a case of re-injury. But that's not the case for everyone who's done the ACL yet. They might get an operation done by, probably won't be the best surgeon. It'll be a good surgeon, but it won't be the best. And then once the operation's done, what then? And this is what has to be equal. We talk about equality in football. For me, you should have an equal playing field in terms of your medical support, your physical support, your nutritional support. These should be given in professional football for everybody at every club. But it's not the case. It's really not the case. And I think for me, it's just so sad that players have to go through that. Like you say, the start alone, but most of these players in the leagues lower down are going through the whole process alone. The whole process. We've seen Ian Wright supporting a player who's had an ACL reconstruction through his own money. Like, come on, we have to do more as a footballing hierarchy to ensure that every player is covered.
Do you feel listened to?
I feel like you have to beat the drum plenty of times before you are listened to. And it's almost a case of sometimes it's people speaking for other people who've, even though you haven't been through that situation, you need to, as a player with a platform, you have to use it effectively to ensure that players are well looked after. All players, not just those in the top league or in the top clubs.
Sounds like it all comes down to money. All of it. Money, money, money. So if you're listening to this right now and you've got some money, just, these are brilliant women, fantastic athletes, doing amazing things every week on the telly, on social media, on YouTube. Forget about on the pitch as well, but they're doing it. So why not get your dosh out and sponsor the women's game? Right, one final thing to end on. Let's end on a positive, shall we? There's something I would like to bring in, which is an international day off for everyone that internationally retires. So in memory of Jess Fishlock retiring, I think she's the latest, shall we all have a day off when you retire from international football? Would either of you like to celebrate Jess Fishlock for one more time and what she's done internationally?
Jess Fishlock, wow, what an amazing career she's had internationally. And I listened to Angharad James's press conference, and she talked about her influence not just on the pitch but off the pitch, and likened it to Gareth Bale. That sums it up. When you are sitting in the same company as Gareth Bale, in terms of your influence on a country and on, you know, the development of football within your country and for generations going forward, yeah, monumental. And she'll be forever in the folklore of Welsh football for sure, because she's done massive amounts for the game.
Well said, Keith. No, I think the same on Jess. She's been a legend, hasn't she? You know, playing against her at Bristol years ago, what she's done for Wales, and I mean, Jesus, anyone deserves that legendary when they've played as many games and times for like clubs and country. I mean, yeah, it shows a professionalism and yeah, just a huge person to have in the game, and I hope she can go sit down and put her feet up on them international bricks.
For sure. 166 caps. Crazy amounts for a national team. It's incredible. Bearing in mind, they've only ever been to one major tournament. That's crazy. That's actually unreal when you think about it.